Welcome, ladies and gents. Let's talk Extraction 2. What a fantastic film. What an absolutely fantastic film. Now, look, obviously, this isn't Oscar bait by any stretch of the imagination. This is an old school action film with brilliant new school cinematography. The likes comparable to John Wick, for instance. It's directed by Sam Hargraves, who was a stuntman, who literally straps himself to a lot of these vehicles and does these one shots for this film. They are absolutely incredible. What just a brilliant director. Really, really, really fantastic. Now, I can't show any of that footage during this review because Netflix, in their grand wisdom, loves to do insane copyright claims. But if you haven't already, I would encourage you to watch the first one, and I would encourage you to watch some of the behind the scenes stuff surrounding the first one, because they literally show Sam Hargraves being strapped to vehicles, jumping in and out of cars with a camera, doing all this stuff. It's phenomenal what this guy does. So obviously the first one was brilliant. It was a really, really good film. Again, it's an action film. It is what it is. It has a core story, and then it builds incredible action around it. Very similar to John Wick, I guess, is comparable in that regard. Now, when they announced the second one, I was like, oh, okay, I'm intrigued, I like the first one. Will it stand up to it as a sequel? Because, of course, for sequels, a lot of these films, they tend to overindulge themselves. They tend to go, I guess, comparable to John Wick. They just keep up in the ante, and losing, in some regards, the core of what made the first one so good. And I can safely say that Extraction 2 didn't do any of that. It was very well made. Very, very well made. The core story works impeccably well. Now, Tyler Rake, clinically dead after the end of the first Extraction. Spoiler alert for the first Extraction that was released several years ago. I'm not going to give you spoiler warnings massively for that film. It is what it is. It's been out for a while, and if you're watching this review, you've obviously seen the first one. He's called back into the action. Why is he called back into the action? Well, you'll have to watch it, but there's a core emotional element that was woven through the first one, which is then taken back up in this one. And it works really, really well. Chris Hemsworth is a bona fide action star. He really, really is. And when you see him in a role like this, it does make you wonder why he's wasting his time on the likes of Marvel and Thor. Because he's a really good actor. Now, obviously, his range in this can only go so far, but across the gamut of what we've seen him do, he is a great actor. He really is. But this stuff he excels in because it's believable. Now, I tweeted this out whilst I was watching this film. Follow me over on Twitter at Misstate Reviews. But I tweeted it out because there's a train sequence in this film. Specifically, when some of the enemies get up to the front cab, the driver's part. I don't know what you'd call that on a train. And the woman there, she's not actually listed in the credits. Golshifty Farahani. Great actress, actually, really, really good. But she's combating these enemies. And I thought to myself, what makes this actually believable? Because, of course, watching a, 100-odd pound woman, whatever you want to call her weight-wise, a woman, combating great big burly men, tends to not be believable. But what made this actually believable is the excruciating sort of groans and grunts from all involved. You can tell that they're working hard to beat one another. It's not just, I'm just taking this, like a Marvel movie, for instance, when they just take someone down and it's not really, it's fine, who cares? It's so disbelievable, and you get this in a lot of action films in this day and age. But the sound design, the score, what they do with the actors' sort of groans and grunts, which sounds a bit odd to say, but it's really true. It builds out this believable, hyper-realistic world. Again, a la a John Wick. And it's not a fair comparison because these are completely different. John Wick is its own thing. They do great stuff with cinematography. But so does Extraction and Sam Hargraves. He does just incredible stuff with cinematography. Like you wouldn't believe. Absolutely nuts. Now, some of the stuff which lets us down, and I say that, but I don't actually mean it, it's begrudgingly, is the CGI. The CGI is not great. But who cares? I'm not watching this for great CGI. I'm watching this for the great action and the core story elements and watching these characters play out on these epic missions. And that all holds up. So I can overlook the CGI. I don't really care that much about it. It is non-stop balls to the wall action with just absolutely great CGI. The subtle slowdown moments build up to a great payoff, and intermittent payoffs. It all works really, really well. And there are some emotional moments in this film. It all just works. There's nothing else really to say about it in terms of that. I did pause it first, about at the train scene was when I paused it to tweet it out. And I did think to myself, let me check how long this film is, like 2 hours. And I was like, oh, Netflix has a habit of overindulging in these films and not being good at editing processes. They don't have someone looking over them going, we need to release this in theatres, you need to get the runtime down. And sometimes the pace of a Netflix film can really suffer. 2 hours on this was a breeze. It just went by nicely. Really, really well. Because again, you've got good cadence, and that's probably what I would say, cadence or tempo, with respect to the action build-up, the slowdown for the emotional sort of peaking, and then back straight into the action to build towards the overall payoff. It works really well. Now, what they do with the world itself and sort of how they build that out, I think that works really, really well. Yeah, some of it's not that believable, but overall, you're working in this sort of hyper-realist world, and it works very, very, very nicely. I loved it. Great film. Genuinely, if you like the first one, you'll love this one. Is it as good as the first one? No, probably not. But again, that's kind of one of those things that you're looking at as its first entrance to the franchise of Extraction. Would I watch another one of these? Yeah, absolutely. I would happily keep watching more and more of these films. If they can keep producing them with the core of what they have done already, I'd watch these all day, every day. I think these work really, really well. They're a throwback, but not. They work on that level. They're sort of old school, new school cinematography style, doing things that you could only dream of back then. So really, really enjoyable film. Loved it. Chris Hemsworth's great. Goal shifty for Harani was great. I think everyone did a really good job in this film, and I'd happily keep watching them. I know Chris Hemsworth is taking a back seat from Thor. Hopefully he's going to keep making these, because these seem to be substantially more fulfilling for him as an actor. There's a wide range going on in them, emotional moments, great action. I'm sure as well, from an actor's perspective, being set up, marked for all of these different and incredible action sequences will be incredibly fulfilling as an actor. So hopefully he does more of these, because I know he's sort of done with a lot of the Marvel stuff. He's openly said that. So there you have it, ladies and gents. That's my review. Loved the film. Happily recommend it. The score was great. The one thing which definitely did let it down, outside of the CGI, and I do mean this actually let it down, is the sound mixing. Now, a lot of these, this is Dolby Atmos on Netflix. I've got a Sonos surround sound system, and they mix it like a film, and sometimes it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. The vocals just aren't that loud. I'm sort of, what are they saying? Struggling a little bit. I'm not deaf, right? I'm not old, okay? I'm no spring chicken, but I'm not old. So some of the sound was a little bit of an issue here and there, but that tends to be modern film issue these days. They mix TV films like they're going to be released in the theatres, and it just doesn't work. But anyway, there you go. If you've seen it, let me know your thoughts down below. If you're new here, do hit subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Cheers, guys. Take care.